Welcome into the Thunder Basketball Universe presented by Summer Moon Coffee. We are recording this episode on Thursday. It is October 16th. The Thunder currently has played 5 of its 6 total preseason games, which means there is a lot of information, a lot of data points, a lot of touch points, a lot of lessons, things that we're uncovering and learning about this team over the course of not just the games, but the practices themselves. And that's the whole point of training camp. That's the whole point of season. Whole point of preseason is just to try to learn what you got in that locker room, what you got on the court, and the Thunder leaving no stone unturned right now.
And they've had plenty of opportunities to do so. I mean, they had 5 games in the span of 10 days, which is pretty rare in the preseason. They've got their 6th and final preseason game coming up on Friday against the Denver Nuggets here at Paycom Center. And yes, we are at Paycom Center here. It is a gorgeous day outside. So just welcoming you all back here downtown as the season is about to kick off.
Which is crazy to think about. And it has felt like a long training camp, I feel like, just by the sheer fact that there are 6 preseason games. We have been on the road a lot. And in cities that we wouldn't normally be in. I mean, factoring in Charleston, South Carolina, Fort Worth, Texas. So there are a lot of different looks, but it was kind of fun, honestly. Charleston was a pretty cool city.
Oh, yeah. Great time in the preseason and getting to go to all these road games, getting all these games in. You just get a truer sense of like, okay, here's where this team is at. Mm-hmm. Here's where, they're focused on right now. It's a lot harder when they're practicing day after day after day to get as much of a sense. Whereas, there's action to watch. I think that's one of the most exciting parts of this preseason is, okay, we get the curtain peeled back a little bit as to, okay, where's Ousmane Dieng at these days? Where's Brooks Barnhizer? We've got a ton of Brooks Barnhizer, and so it's pretty fascinating.
Well, these preseason games have also given us actual stats to work with now. So what do you say we get into our Summer Moon stat of the week? Nick Gallo, what you got for us?
I have the number 8. Any ideas? Any thoughts?
That is J-Dub's jersey number.
That is most certainly J-Dub's jersey number. He has not played yet in the preseason, so I don't have any statistics to go for him right now.
8. I feel like that's like the number of steals the Thunder had in like the first quarter of the last game or something like that.
While that may be true, this is a number that a single player hit twice in the last 3 games.
8. Oh, assists?
That's correct.
By Kaysen?
By Kaysen. Nicely done, Paris.
That's actually a really good stat. I'm so glad you brought that up.
That word really actually was doing a lot of work in that sentence, but...
Actually? So good, Gallo.
Yes, this is assist by Kaysen Wallace in 2 of the last 3 games that he played here in the preseason, including that game up in Milwaukee where you and I were sitting next to each other as the Thunder played the Bucks, and it was just like... It was like a pinball machine lighting up. Like every assist, we were like in the first 5 minutes, Kaysen had 5 assists already. And I think it's a great example of something that we'll talk about maybe a little bit more in depth. But Sam Presti warned everybody, and Mark Daigneault has warned everybody. This is a team that, despite returning so many of its roster players, is different than it was last year. And the continuity actually can be a good thing in terms of absorbing the ways in which these players have developed and changed over the course of time. What we've seen from Kaysen is a lot of playmaking off the dribble, a lot of just making the right pass, making the next pass. Kaysen's assists have not been highlight reel madness. It's been simple, effective, making the next play and attacking off of closeouts. And we can dig into that a little bit more.
Well, for Kaysen in general, I love that you brought this up because we act like it could be interpreted that Kaysen is trying to, become more of a playmaker than he, used to be. Kaysen's always had this offensive ability, but the fact is he's on a team with a lot of great offensive players in general. And so his role on this team has always been the defensive guy and making the right play offensively. He's always had that ability to him. Now, this year, the Thunder coaching staff is like, well, let's open the door for him and give him a little runway and see what he could do with it, because we know he has this already in his arsenal. It's not like he's, unlocking different skills or anything like that, maybe sharpening them and honing them, certainly. But Kaysen has now had these preseason games where a lot of the, Thunder's main scorers and main playmakers haven't been there. He's getting a lot of minutes in these sort of situations where he's that primary ball handler, primary playmaker, and he's making some really good plays. And what that looks like in the regular season, still to be determined, but really awesome developmental minutes here for Kaysen to give the Thunder a lot of data points and a lot of looks at what this could look like for him.
And crucially, to kind of bounce off of that point, is like these 2 8-assist games for Kaysen came not when he was kind of the veteran statesman out there on the floor. They came at home against Charlotte and on the road against Milwaukee. Those are the 2 games where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander played, Lou Dort played, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein. Those guys all played. And so what's fascinating to me, and I think is an interesting dynamic, is that, you know, Kaysen's best playmaking has come when he's been surrounded by the best players on the team who've been out there. I think that's indicative of the ways in which he has learned how to play inside of this Thunder system. So
100%.
Again, it's not here we're shoving all of this responsibility onto Kaysen in like an unrealistic situation where he's not going to have some of these, you know, same opportunities once the regular season starts. It's like, hey, how do we move that node up a little bit more? How do we like move that, press that button up a little bit more on Kaysen and give him some chances with all the main guys and see how that can actually help elevate the group overall? I think a perfect play that indicated this is one that we talked to Mark Dagnall about after the Milwaukee game. You know, Kaysen catches the ball on the weak side of the floor and he attacks a closeout immediately. You know, oftentimes players in that situation, it's the weak side. You're going to go straight up to the rim, maybe force up something that's a little bit contested, or, you know, just, you know, try to find something. Kaysen extended the dribble, extended the play, got up underneath the rim on a Nash dribble, and he waited for just the right moment when Isaiah Hartenstein fell into the space that was left open. And Kaysen, with great skill, dropped off a little bounce pass back behind him, back into the lane, led the receiver, as you would say in football, and Hartenstein's able to clean it up for a dunk. I mean, that's the type of play that we have not seen often from Kaysen, but is a totally realistic opportunity for him in the coming season with the personnel around him.
Very high level, just high IQ sort of play right there for Kaysen, and particularly the patience, the measured kind of extending that dribble like you're talking about. And that only happens from a guy who has seen the pictures, has played in very meaningful basketball, and is now getting the chance to kind of make these sort of plays in the preseason. And the other element, last thing I'll say about Kaysen that we've learned about him over the course of this preseason is he's gotten stronger as well. And just in terms of building out his frame, he's still a young guy. And so there's still room for him to grow physically. And he's taking advantage of that. He really spent a lot of time in the weight room this offseason. And he said that one area that he's feeling that is offensively. He's able to get through drives more, be able to get through gaps, take on some bumps and not get knocked off his, dribble. And I think a lot of that is showing up in the confidence with which he's approaching the offensive side of the floor. So you mix that with the pictures and the opportunity, and you get this nice little mixture here for Kaysen in the preseason, and it's showing up on the offensive end of the floor.
Yeah, and so I highlighted this one example. There's a dozen of these examples across the board. So, we're not just singling out Kaysen here, but, this is an example of a player who's in the midst of a developmental process. Every Thunder player is, finding their own ways to do that. Even Isaiah Hartenstein, who's a veteran, who's been doing this for a long time.
Good point.
The way that he read and played off of Kaysen in that one specific example, like that's more continued growth from him in terms of not necessarily doing more or doing something different, but those innate connections that get built when you play with teammates over the course of time. That's where it's going to be a beautiful marriage of, hopefully, of continuity and continued growth and investment on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball.
Excellent point. And I'm so glad we got a chance to talk about Kaysen because that's been really fun to watch throughout the course of this preseason. My stat has also been very fun to watch this preseason. It's 38.
That is the minutes that Brooke Barnhizer played against the Indiana Pacers, correct?
I can't get anything past you, Nick Gallo. Nothing gets past you.
I can't remember where I put my car keys, but I can remember obsure stats. So there you go.
I'll know exactly how many minutes Brooks Barnhizer played against the Indiana Pacers. So
the grocery list I made, no chance. Yeah.
So he played 38 minutes against Indiana, followed that up with 28 against the Milwaukee Bucks the other day. And the reason I brought this stat up is for a young player like Brooks Barnhizer, a second round pick, right? You get introduced into an NBA roster, a championship NBA roster, mind you, with a lot of incredible players, a lot of depth, and a lot of returning players. If you look at that just on its face, the opportunities for you to make cracks in there is limited, right? However, over the course of Summer League, where he got a lot of burn, where over the course of preseason, where he's clearly gotten a lot of minutes and opportunity, we've gotten to see so much from Brooks Barnhizer.
Yep.
He's still got a long way to go, as we've heard from Coach Dagnall. I mean, sometimes out there defensively, you can tell he's, a step behind or maybe gets lost a couple of times. But one, he's learning very quickly, which is very encouraging. And you can see that high IQ, high processing, especially on the defensive end of the floor. And secondly, you cannot deny how hard that man plays on especially the defensive end of the floor. I'm talking about laying it all out there. The man got his teeth knocked out in Summer League. Don't forget that. And just
I was hoping to. Yeah.
And just kept playing. This is the type of guy that he is. And it's been really cool to see him get these reps, but also see him take information from one game and apply it to another game. So I'll give you an example. And he brought this up when we got a chance to talk to him at practice at the Thunder Ion this week. He said there was a game, I think it was in the Indiana game. He missed an assignment and, some guy, I think he got backdoored on or something. And, he was able to talk to Lou and AC about it and practice and be like, hey, what did you guys see here? Like, what would you do in this situation? And then the Milwaukee game comes around, or maybe I'm getting the games backwards, but the next game rolls around and the same situation happens and Brooks is able to blow up the play or tie it up. And he said, in that moment, I felt myself in real time learning how fast everything works in the NBA. And that's how fast he's learning. It's game to game. And you can see it from game to game.
It was almost like he was watching his own player development.
Yes, exactly.
It's like, I can have something where I mess up.
Mm-hmm.
I can talk about it and I can watch some film about it. And then I get another chance 48 hours later and I can actually just get better. I can just get better at it.
Yes,
I can
exactly.
And it's cool to hear a guy really sort of be absorbing and almost watching his own development happen in real time.
Yeah. And the other thing about Brooks that I've found really, really impressive is his mentality.
Yeah.
Recognizing he has a lot of humility coming into this, which I think is really healthy for rookies to have, recognizing that, hey, look, I have so much to learn. I have a long way to go. And I recognize I am on a very good team. And so what I can do here is play hard and be a sponge.
Yeah.
And that's the approach that he has taken, especially when it comes to asking questions from guys who have taken similar paths to him. Guys like Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Kenrich Williams, guys who have been second-round picks, two-way players, having to scratch and fight for, their roles on NBA rosters. And so for him to have that mentality and that approach, I think is very, very impressive and is a really good indicator of why he feels like this is such a good fit for him being a part of this organization.
Yeah, he came in and said, basically that, hey, all of these guys have done something.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't.
Exactly.
I have to be additive in some other way. And so I thought that was a very humble perspective. And, if you're humble, you can be grateful. And if you're grateful, you can be happy is a great phrase to live by. And Brooks Barnhiser's definitely doing that.
Certainly is, which brings us to one of the themes of this training camp. And Nick, you brought it up, but Brooks kind of fits into this because Brooks is one of the very few new faces on this Thunder roster. And one of the things we talked about on the last podcast was the sheer continuity that the Thunder has coming into this season and the value that holds for this team, just in terms of familiarity and knowing each other. You don't have to explain a ton of terminology. You don't have to layer in a lot of new lessons in training camp. People can kind of pick up where they left off. The flip side to that is this is still a new team.
Yeah.
We talked about Kaysen as a fabulous example of that. Players expanding their individual games. Now they come into the season with new skills, new opportunities, and new ways that they can impact the game. But you also have players who have just grown physically.
Yep.
And I think Jay Will is a fabulous example of this. We talked about how he really wanted to lose weight in the offseason, and he came back and he's, feels great out there on the floor, looks great out there on the floor. And all of these guys have either, gotten stronger, honed their skills. And so you have the same team, you have the same faces, but a new team.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting dynamic to see play out during training camp.
And this is something that Sam Presti talked about at the end of last season. And it's something that Mark Daigneault talked about at the beginning of this season. And Sam again reinforced is yes, this team has great continuity, but don't expect this team to just be a cookie cutter of exactly what last year's team was.
100%.
You wouldn't want that to be the case. You wouldn't want this team to just roll up and be the exact same thing. There's a great example about whoever wins the freestyle in the Olympics in swimming.
Yep.
Whatever that score was,
you can't just
train to that score over and over, right? You have to do better the next year because, hey, guess what? Everyone who's competing in the next Olympics is trying to get better than that score.
Exactly.
Right? And so that's what this team's challenge is. Like, they have to be better than they were last year, not for any other reason than everybody else is going to be better. Yeah. And they're the standard that people are setting to.
And that's why we heard Coach Dagnall talk about the fact that improvement for us is necessary.
Yeah.
And especially now, just because now we recognize the rest of the league is getting better, we also have to do that as well. And so for Oklahoma City, that's their goal. That's their mentality coming into this season. And in addition to just like individual players, the returning players being better, you also fold in a guy like Nikola Topic into the fold. And we got to see a little bit from Tope this season in the preseason before he was injured. And so you fold in a new guy like that as well. You've got Brandon Carlson, who has gotten some great run here for the Thunder, who spent a few games with the Thunder last season as well. And it really is a lot to explore, which now looking at the 6 preseason games, it's like, okay, this is really valuable for Oklahoma City because there are so many different elements to this team that you want to be able to roll out there and get a look at before the regular season.
For sure. I mean, we've seen AJ Mitchell a little bit here too. I mean, that's a guy that didn't get to play most of the last 2/3 of the season last year. And he's a guy that showed amazing potential. And so all of these guys are going to come in and the roster will look and feel different. That's great, though, because the Thunder's not trying to repeat an outcome. They're trying to repeat a process. And by process, that means stacking days, taking every day seriously, focusing on what they can control each day, and then letting the season and letting the team naturally unfold in whatever ways it's going to. Part of that means also not being so rigid and stuck to and clinging to what worked last year. Last year was last year. This year is going to be totally different. All 29 other teams look different. The way that they're constructed is different. So the Thunder not defending anything, they are being the aggressors this year. They're going to be a moving target. If they're a static object, that's a lot easier for teams to come try to pick at.
I love this quote from Coach Dagnall that we heard. I think it was after the Milwaukee game. I think it was a couple of days ago. And he said, we just try to stick to our principles and our philosophy as an organization and let those guide us through whatever challenges come toward us in the regular season, right? Because there are bound to be challenges. I mean, the Thunder's already facing them. I mean, guys are already injured right now, and they're having to navigate that. And so the Thunder, it's not like they're, to your point, they're holding on to, oh, well, this made us successful last season, and oh, this worked for us, so we're gonna try to replicate that this year. It's okay. We clearly have a good process of how we navigate when things get thrown at us this season. Let's stick to those values and those principles. And then, because it's a new season with new challenges and new opponents and all just an entirely new season in front of us, we don't know what's going to happen. And this team and this organization, I think, has some really good humility to recognize that they can't answer every question. But they recognize that they have a really good process to try to find solutions to everything. And that's the approach that they're taking right now. And I think Coach Dagnall laid that out really beautifully in terms of like, look, we can't anticipate adversity. We can't anticipate, what challenges are and, road bumps are going to be in front of us, but we can trust our principles and our processes.
Yeah. And it's no guarantee that they're going to make every correct decision and they're going to handle everything perfectly. But you now have a body of work where last season you were able to not just endure, but try to thrive through and get better through having every single center on the roster injured.
Great point.
And, have J-Dub starting as your center. Like, that happened. They dealt with it. They figured out how to just, make it work. And now with whatever circumstance gets thrown their way this year, they at least have that in their back pocket of like, okay, we can figure it out. Is everything going to go perfectly? Absolutely not. But again, it goes back to this point of like, you can't just line it up and knock it out. It's not bowling.
No.
Like the conditions are constantly changing and the time is changing too.
Yes. And that's why the Thunder, every single start of training camp, it's like clockwork. We hear from Coach Dagnall at some point in the Thunder Ion, someone asks him a question about expectations and predictions. And he says, I try to keep as open a mind as possible. I try to keep a blank slate and let the team tell and inform us what we need to do and what we need to think. Because if we were closed-minded, we never would have known that. We never would have, given Jay Will an opportunity to show that he could be a great three-point shooter.
Yeah.
And we never would have known that Alex Caruso and J-Dub could operate at the 5 for us this season.
Yeah.
So we really try to give ourselves the space to just let things unfold and inform us as we go along. The good news for Oklahoma City here, what also helps this, it might have been a shortened offseason, but these guys came in great shape.
Yes, they did.
And we've heard from Coach Dagnall that all of these guys, they know how to ramp themselves up. They know how to get themselves ready and prepared for the season. And all of these guys have been in incredible shape.
Yeah, and now it's a matter of just getting them all healthy and getting them on the floor at the same time. But the guys did come in with great professionalism. It was the shortest summer that any of us have ever had being in the Thunder organization, except maybe one of those bubble seasons it was weirdness. That wasn't even technically
didn't even exist.
It wasn't even technically summer because I think when the bubble was over. Anyway, neither here nor there. The guys did an excellent job having the correct mentality and focus level this offseason and recognizing, once that parade was over, it was time to move on to the next thing because there's, for the team, the most competitive thing to do is to turn the page and to focus on everything that they can control that's right in front of them. Mm-hmm. And that's where this team's at. Well,
that's a great segue into what's brewing for this team. The thing in front of them right now is their final preseason game against the Denver Nuggets. And you might be listening to this and that game might have already happened at this point. But there is one more game, one more final tune-up for Oklahoma City as they prepare for the regular season. And we heard from Coach Dagnall, they're really just using these games just to make sure that their fundamentals are in place that really ladder up to their identity and who they want to be as a team. All of the extra stuff, all of the cool, tricks of the trade, they'll layer that stuff in throughout the regular season. It is a long season. 82 games is a lot of games. They'll use the regular season to kind of layer in all of that other stuff. Right now, all about building that foundation, building up that identity. And they have one final tune-up against the Denver Nuggets, and that's tomorrow in Paycom Center.
Yeah, and ultimately, when you look at the most important games of the season, it's the fundamentals that are the things that mattered anyway. And that's what 100%. We've heard from Alex Caruso and Lou Dort and so many of these players is like, hey, when we were looking at these games deep in the playoffs, it all just came down to what were our fundamentals, what 100%. Were our habits, what were the things that we were doing subconsciously, and not some of these, it's not like trick shots. It's not behind the back passes. Exactly. Like that's not the secret to winning these games. It's
not the scheming, the box and one, and all of those things.
Did you get into your defensive stance every single possession?
Did you communicate that ball screen?
Did you make the right pass? Did you make the right play? Did you make the reads based off of what the offensive set was called? So that's, again, what everybody is focused on here. It's what they're going to be focused on for the next 6 months and hopefully beyond. And they get to start fully that journey on Tuesday at home against the Houston Rockets in the season opener. Paycom Center is going to be rocking, and I'm so excited for the fans especially to get to come into this building that night and get to celebrate and get to kind of turn the page with the team, embrace everything that happened last year as the banner comes down, as the rings get presented, and then most critically, cheer their lungs out, cheer their hearts out for this team and continue to reinforce what a great home court advantage this is.
The first of 82 games of this regular season, and the Thunder very much prepared and getting ready for that opportunity that is in front of them. It all starts on Tuesday. We are so excited. And if you see us there, wave, say hello. We're so excited to see you. We're going to be there, best believe. But until then, thank you so much for watching and listening. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much to our producer, Matt Bishop. And until next time, Thunder up and catch you later.